Buongiorno e benvenuti. Welcome to Art Yoga Pills with me, your host, Vinny. In this space, we will connect and share together about creativity, inner child, and self-awareness. Siete pronti? Enjoy! Ciao a tutti, kia ora, and welcome to a new episode of Art Yoga Pills. I have with me today a very special guest, Paula Guy from Yin Reiki Sound. How are you, Paula?
I am very well, Dinny. Thank you so much for having me along today. It's gorgeous to be here with you.
For me, it's exactly the same. I really honor our special time together. I was fortunate enough to meet you in person in a couple of very different occasions, and that motivated me to get even more curious, to get to know you a little bit better, and through this opportunity with the podcast, also to extend my diving into your own personal journey with possibly an audience that can be equally inspired as well as myself today in this space. So thank you for accepting my invitation.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And it's always so nice how different parts of your life come together. And that's such a treat for me too. So it's good to be here.
Thank you, Paula. And I guess that my first question for you, so that even our listener can um, start to feel the same vibes that I'm feeling, like the curiosity sparkling within myself is could be a very simple question, but sometimes can also turn out to be a tricky one. So my first question for you is, who is Paula? And feel free from here to go either personally or professionally and touch anything that you wish to touch in this sharing with us.
Wow, that is a good question, isn't it? I suppose the most simple answer is that I am Paula. I am originally from Scotland and have been living here in New Zealand for the last 12 years. In Scotland, I worked as a nurse in the health service for a long time, over 20 years. And then when I came to New Zealand, I decided to do something a little differently. And so I thought I'd do something fun. And that took me down the line of teaching first aid, where we met one of the times. But that's just been part of my sort of story, really, because I suppose as a young child, I was always very curious about what on earth I was doing here on earth. And do remember quite vividly asking my mum these real big philosophical questions about our reason for being and how we got here and what was the purpose of life. So I think I've always been quite curious about that. It's been a big driving force to try and understand what on earth I'm doing here. I do love people very much. I have a real love of all people. And I suppose that sort of guided my path that I've chosen this time around. So really looking after and caring for people through my work. And so over the time that I've been here, obviously I wasn't working hands-on as a nurse. And that really kind of made me get more into the other passions in my life. So I was attuned to Reiki after my first child was born. She was very young, so that was back in 2000, so a long time ago, and was so blown away by it. And so that's been like over 20 years. But I suppose over recent times, I really felt that I had the need to step up and step out of my comfort zone, hidden secretly in the background, and be a wee bit more prominent. Really just to, show people the way through difficult times, or perhaps the way to connecting to that spiritual aspect of ourselves, or just kind of really tuning in and tapping into like the much bigger picture of humanity. So so there's lots of different tools that I use, but I suppose, who am I? I'm just somebody that likes people, who likes to help people, to soothe people, and to just let them know how amazing they are. And I think we forget that with our everyday life. We forget just the miracle that we are. And, we've actually got work to do while we're here. And so I suppose that's part of who I am. There are other parts too. But yeah, that sort of calling from the spiritual side has sort of led me down the path of what I do now. And it's been quite a lovely journey unfolding. And it's been nice.
Thank you so much, Paula. It's really beautiful to navigate with you your path, and as well as resonating with you in those existential questions. I hope that everyone once in a while have asked themselves that, but really nice to see how keep on asking ourselves those existential questions might lead us to different path and different journey in our life, and finding ourselves where we are today, possibly knowing that there is much more than what our eyes and experience can give us. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, for sure. Yeah.
I am quite interested in navigating with you, if you like, the duality of your ways of supporting people. One that is quite scientific, and it could be led to more like logical mind and logical thinking on how to practically um, supporting someone through what mm, I would not say the majority, but many people that are even around me are trusting in, which is like the medical world or the scientific world, but at the same time having spiritual knowledge, which is it could be combined by all the other aspect that you touched. Well, at the moment you only touch Reiki, but your website is Yin Reiki and Sound, so three different aspects that they are all of them quite spiritual and connected even with something that we cannot possibly understanding logically, but we could potentially experience with our energy and our either our third eye, but also our sixth sense, like all those things that cannot be fully understood by our mind, but possibly by our heart and our body. It could make a difference. So I wonder if there is something that have you noticed in your journey of supporting people, how both aspects supported you in leading your path, but also supporting others in yeah, finding a better and bigger connection with themselves if possible.
Mm. Well, I suppose each of us have very different parts to ourselves, and so we're quite multi-layered, and we can be like a practical person and a scientific person, and yet also be very spiritual. So I think we can be many things in one. I suppose, like my earlier life, my sister was a nurse, and so I think in a family of girls, that's quite a kind of normal thing, that you are quite empathetic and caring. And it just kind of came naturally to me that that's the path that I was going to take. But I actually think it's so interesting, because looking back, you can see how everything unfolds. And so each part, it's just kind of leading up to the next part. And so I suppose in my earlier life, like I lost my parents as a teenager, they both died. And that was pretty traumatic. And I think had I not had that really sort of difficult situation to deal with at such an early age, I probably wouldn't have had this unfolding in my life. So that kind of was a big part. When I when I was, expecting my first daughter, I had a very profound spiritual experience, and it really flooded my heart so completely. I can't really explain it in words because it was such a beautiful thing. I think words don't really I couldn't do the experience justice. But I mean, I've always loved people, but this just kind of amped it up to like a new level completely. And also it changed me, I think, as a person, so much. Changed me completely. And so I loved getting my hands on people and just like really focusing in on them. And for some people, Reiki, it might appear to woo-woo, like how on earth can that work? But from a practical side, I say, well, even if you dedicate your attention and time and, your love to them for half an hour and an hour, is that not beneficial to that person? So yeah, there is like a side of me that is, maybe more professional, and then this side of me that is deeply spiritual. But I think it all comes from the heart, and it all comes from the heart to connect with people and to see them for their beauty, and to see that they're much more than, what they project and the barriers that we put up, to protect ourselves from hurt. So I suppose the different parts of me are quite yin and yang. And so I had been doing Reiki for over 20 years before I came here. And yeah, I was very much like in a lovely group in Scotland, and we did lots of like focused healing on specific topics, and maybe world events and the earth and all these beautiful things. And then when I came here, I just kind of kept it to myself, because of course we can use Reiki for ourselves and for our loved ones and for everything that you hold dear to you. And so I suppose I just took time to settle into life here in New Zealand. And then, unfortunately, my eldest sister became very unwell in Scotland. And I was really, really upset about this, being so far away. She was having a really difficult time in our family. I felt, so torn at being away here and having this sort of nice life in inverted commas while she was struggling so much. And a beautiful friend of mine asked me if I would like to go to yoga with her. And in truth, I've always been an outdoor person. I love like nature and the mountains and walking and fresh air, and the thought of going to yoga, being confined in a space in a room, like really didn't appeal to me at all. But she said we can go to yoga and we can go for a cup of tea after it. And I thought, oh, well, I'll go for the cup of tea. But so off we went to yoga, because she knew just by what was happening in my life that perhaps this practice of yoga could really help me. And I didn't know anything about it, and I just went along with her because she was my friend, and it was a lovely offer. And so in this first class of yoga, I kind of think to myself, I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't really know what was happening inside my body, but I could feel it so intensely. And I don't mean like the physical practice, like it kind of just hit me like a hammer because I was so upset and so stressed, and just this space that the beautiful teacher held for me. Oh my gosh, I couldn't speak after it. So I came out of the class and my friend said, "How did that go for you?" And I said, "Oh, I can't talk right now, just give me some time." And I realized looking back that it was all energetic work, like I was holding on to all this stuff, and just the movement of the body and the breath and the kindness and the compassion of the teacher, just like, oh wow, it was like so powerful. And so I didn't know what had happened in class, and yet I knew deep inside, oh gosh, I have to keep doing this, because whatever happened in there, it was really helpful, and I'm just going to keep going. So I kept going and I kept going, and my poor sister, didn't do well, and sadly she died, and yet I kept going to yoga because I needed to keep breathing, just to help me with the sorrow and the grief that I was experiencing, and to maybe be of support to my family and to her family. And so I kept going to yoga, kept breathing, and it was so helpful. And so then I decided that I would do a yoga teacher training, and not to teach yoga, but just to learn a bit more about it. And so I did this teacher training and thinking, I think yoga might be spiritual, but I'm not sure about that. And then, of course, as soon as I started the teacher training, I was like, oh my gosh, it's only spiritual. It's only a spiritual practice. And we reach it through the body and through the breath and through the meditation, but it is only spiritual. So that was like such a great revelation for me, that, yeah, like my heart had drawn me to yet another spiritual practice, because I think there are so many. It doesn't matter whether you reach your heart through like maybe one of the world's religions, or you reach it through like snowboarding out in nature up a mountain, or I don't think it really matters the path that you take, but the path will take you on your awakening. So here I did the teacher training, and it was fabulous, and I learned so much, and I really found that I was so challenged because I didn't feel comfortable sharing any personal details about myself. It was too much. It was too, I just wasn't ready for that at all. So I remained mute for a long time. I did another, just let me think of the order of this. I did another teacher training. I did a Yin teacher training, which, oh my gosh, again, changed who I was completely. Really was so up my street. My teacher was amazing. And so at the end of the training, I realized that probably because he had me by the shoulders and was shaking me, saying, "You have to teach." I was thinking by this point, 2 teacher trainings, well, maybe I do have something to say that might help people. Maybe I could. And of course, the ridiculous thing is about this is that in my professional life, I talk to people in an audience for 7 and 8 hours a day. So I think probably in the yoga side of it, it was, what do I know? I don't know anything about yoga, because it's this ancient tradition of, so many layers. Like I don't know anything. I'm just learning this stuff myself. But still, in all, I had this thought, maybe I do have something to say. So with the help of my gorgeous mentor, I had to do one class just to see that, what I could do would be maybe suitable to teach. And as soon as I did that class, I thought, oh gosh, I can do this. This is okay. And I loved it because, again, it was all about energy. It was all about the connection of the heart and holding space for people. I found that I could do really easily because of the energy work that I'd had. I can really tap into that and I can read energy so easily. And so that began the Yin Yoga part of the journey and teaching, and I have met so many beautiful people through that, and it's been a real, gosh, honor to have held space for so many, and I just feel kind of humbled that I can do that. So that's like one of my big passions, Yin Yoga, because of the effect that it has on us. And yeah, we can definitely talk more. I could talk a lot about that. But then as a result of that, I think prior to that, like even when I hadn't even done the teacher training, even the first one, I went to gosh, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was a wee one-day workshop with singing bowls, because I had already thought, oh, I love sound. And I know even as a child and through my whole life, I've been able to manipulate my own energy and my own mood just through sound and through music and through movement. So I'm a person that secretly sings and dances by herself behind closed doors or in my car. So I really loved that class. The lady that took it was like so adorable, and yeah, so that was the start. So once I started teaching Yin Yoga, I got myself a singing bowl, a Tibetan bowl, and I just used it to like start the class and to finish the class, and just the energy of that bowl, I could feel so clearly. And yeah, people really enjoyed the sound as well. So that led to the next part, which was sound healing. And I actually did that really by chance online with a beautiful Italian teacher, actually. And it probably wouldn't have been my first thought to do online, but the way the course was structured, it was really easy to do that way. And we had a lot of practical homework to do. So it was actually great. I loved it. So that led me to sound therapy, another use of energy manipulation. And I just love how all these different modalities of healing, of energy work, just are so complementary. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to continue to unfold, because on that training, one of the sort of things that we looked at was the voice and how that could be used for sound healing, and how like sound moves, just like it's pretty scientific, of course. It's just like molecules moving in a wave, and we as humans are big antennas, receiving and putting out energy as well, and information. And so I think I like to kind of think that, yeah, we are just like all energy. We're all individual people, but we have our own frequency and like our own flavor as well. And so we're just putting information out and we're just receiving it. And that's what all the energy work is. It's really gorgeous. So I don't know if that
Absolutely.
answers the question, Denny, but
Absolutely, yes. And I really love how you dive into your own personal journey of how you came across to each aspect that are your passions, but also your offering to the world. And I'm also really grateful that you touch also on some very vulnerable moments into your life, and offering them to us just to make sense of what was going on for you in your journey and your path. And it's quite incredible. to notice also how everything it unfolded for you without you necessarily to look into each aspect, but those aspects somehow coming towards you for a reason, and all connected to energy, healing, and all the physical aspect of ourself, not just the body, but all the layers that make us as human beings. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We are so complex, you know. I don't know if we can or will ever fully understand ourselves while we're in our human form. But I'd like to think that just by, learning and growing and searching, and we can maybe just unpack a bit of it and dive a bit deeper. And I suppose I'm not sure like what everybody else's plan is for their life, but I suppose really I just wanted to be a good person, and I feel deeply, and so people's pain often really kind of, or not even pain, but disease. I can really empathize and connect, understand that because of my experience. And yeah, I think we all carry a lot of different difficult times in our life. You know, I'm sure every single person that you speak to, Dinny, has had similar events in their life that has molded their path and shaped them and made them who they are. And I think we're very much here to be ourselves. And the way that I have maybe reached this part is just really by feeling, feeling, and following my heart. And yeah, and well, since I love people, then I'm sharing it with you. So I hope that's good. And it's not just
Absolutely.
for me.
Absolutely. And I thank you for that, because I'm pretty sure that many people that might be in whatever part of their journey could always be inspired by what is being shared here. And coming especially from your personal journey that was not logically thinking to reach this point in your life, but still finding yourself quite in the right place and the right time for personal growth. It's quite special, because it's something that can shift the perspective of anyone who is listening. And I really resonate with what you were sharing, especially in terms of teaching yoga, like allowing ourselves to step out of our comfort zone and trusting that even the little bit, for our perspective, that little bit of knowledge that we gain through something that is valuable to us, it truly can give us something that we can give to someone else. So I really want to acknowledge as well that aspect of your life, because it's the one that I'm finding myself in at the moment. And I know that not necessarily in relationship to yoga, but it could be like the duality of which path should I take now? Should I make myself enough strong to step out of the comfort zone, or just like step back and deciding that maybe this is not the time for myself? So I really appreciate that aspect of your journey, being it like a mirror to myself, and hopefully also an inspiration for our listeners.
Yeah, I completely understand because it is so confronting stepping out of your comfort zone. And I always think, like we talk about a lot in yoga, about releasing the stuff that doesn't maybe apply to you now at this stage in your life, or any hurts or things like that that are just so outdated. But I kind of think in life that we can sort of let go of fears or anything that is difficult for us at different stages. Some things we can just let go of quickly, and some things we've got to work on it a bit longer. And then sometimes I think that is like the whole life purpose, is to overcome this like huge thing that you've been working on your whole life. So it is so confronting. as a yoga teacher, but I think because we're all so different, there's space for everyone in that environment, because what you share in your class will appeal to one person or all those people, or you know, somebody else share something different. So I think the best thing that we can all do is just be ourselves so honestly and fully as we can, which isn't always practical or sensible, but in certain spaces, yeah, just allow yourself in certain spaces to be yourself fully, and yeah, doing a great job.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, like trying to recall your honesty, even in terms of you being our trainer for our first date, and noticing even how um, you could still be yourself even towards something that requires certain structure that we needed to follow to learn something useful for the particular task that we wanted to learn, and still finding that authenticity of yours coming through, and appreciating it even in an aspect that it needed to be way more practical than spiritual, for instance, but still appreciating the knowledge, and noticing even how that drove me to come to you and ask you to be part of this. So I'm really grateful that to me was something that I picked, even in a context where possibly it require a lot of professionalism to to be delivered, and appreciating how that came through, even if spirituality possibly was not the central topic of the sharing that we had at that time.
Oh, I love that, because secretly I'm kind of sharing anyway. I'm kind of soothing you with my energy. So even though it's like this sort of serious topic, I do secretly manage to get, you know, that in there as well. And of course, whenever you're working with people, you know, you're working with that person. And if you practice looking beyond just like the very sort of exterior part of themselves, and you can really see everyone's, you know, you can see people very clearly beyond the layers. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
nice it's nice to be able to bring that into all parts of all of the things that I teach. Yeah.
And one question that comes to me, it comes like thinking of my mom, for example, and knowing that although I perceive her as a person who has very deep connection with energy, I am wondering if there could be a possibility for you to speak a little bit more into the Reiki aspect, which I'm imagining myself trying to explain it to my mom with the knowledge that I have, which anyway it's not as great as yours. But what could be a way of translating into words what Reiki is, even imagining that maybe even some of our listeners might have been first timers in listening this word, and possibly not truly know what that is all about.
For sure, yeah. So I often have a few different explanations as to what Reiki is, depending on who I'm speaking to. So perhaps I'll need to give you the honest answer, or I'll need to give you a few different ones, because for one person, they might accept the sort of description of what it is quite well, and for others, it might put them off completely. So I sometimes usually just start with saying that all living things is just energy vibrating, and we're all vibrating at a different frequency. And you know, Reiki is energy. It's called universal life force energy, and my take on it is that it has a sort of divine nature to it, in that it is pure love. So if you think of um, of it in that way, then it might be easy to understand. But it's been around for quite a while, over 100 years. It originates in Japan, and it was rediscovered by a man who was a real spiritual seeker himself, and went on a meditative time up a mountain for 21 days. And it's said that during this time, you're either enlightened or you die. So thankfully, he was struck with this sort of, he was enlightened, shall we say. Let's make it easy. And so he realized, as a result of this profound experience, that he was able to do hands-on healing. So, and that's not such a difficult thing to understand, because we have different energy centers potentially in the body where these rivers of energy flow and converge. So, and we have them in our hands too, and in our feet. And, if you think about connecting to the earth. So he shared this knowledge, and it's worldwide now. We can go to any country, and I'm sure people are practicing Reiki. So it's a hands-on healing modality where you would connect to this after you've been through a sacred ceremony, an attunement. And then just, if you imagine that attunement just as like a key that turns this on, that opens a door, because we're all able to do this if we choose. And often it's, a desire of the person to either, go down that path or not. So it's just one way. And so if you were to receive Reiki, then I would just steady myself for a moment, create an intention that the energy would flow from the universe through me, just as a channel to you. And it has a very balancing effect on all layers of our being, and deeply relaxing. And of course, our body has that innate wisdom and intelligence that knows how to heal itself. And I think as humans, we kind of don't do our bodies the justice that they deserve. We get in the way, we think terrible thoughts in our minds about ourselves, but our body really knows how to heal itself. And so if we just give it the right ingredients, the time and the space, and maybe a bit of help, then it can do the job that it needs. And that happens also in a yin yoga class, where we're able to balance the nervous systems as well, because we're so young in our everyday life, and we need a bit of yin just to find that balance and release some of the stress that we all carry about as well. So Reiki is just a hands-on healing modality, and it's really beautiful. And we can use it in every area of our life if we choose. You could give healing energy to the food that you eat, to the water that you drink, to the earth that you walk on, to your precious family or animals. So there's no limitations, and also there's no real limitations to space or time as well, because potentially all is now. So does that sound straightforward, Denny?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I am aware that certain people sometimes might be put off just by the name of things, and diving a little bit deeper into what those things are might shift perspective. Although I really like the gentleness in which you put always forward like your own personal interpretation, despite, like your knowledge through your training, but also coming through a place of your personal understanding and offering of with words of what Reiki could look like today for you as well. So thank you for that.
It's a pleasure.
And arriving at this point in our conversation, I wonder is there anything you wish to share, even in terms of upcoming events where we might have the opportunity to meet you in person or not? And as well, anyway, the link of your social channel will be below the description of these episodes. So if we are missing anything, people can always refer to that. But if there is anything in particular that you feel like drawn to share, this could be a possibility for you in case.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much. Well, yeah, I mean, in Auckland, I share all of these things that I do, just as a way to expose more people to this work, but also hopefully in a way to touch their heart and to help them on their journey and to maybe soothe them and to support them. So yeah, I do lots of things. And so I'm always pretty busy. So I've teamed up with another beautiful girl, Dawn of late, a friend, and we're doing some lovely sound baths. So that I've got one, or we have one rather, on Friday coming. And that's gorgeous because there's one person. So my sound therapy, it's one-to-one, and I place balls in the body, and I use tuning forks and bells and some really lovely sound just to get that person into a deep state of relaxation. And then there's all sorts of really interesting things melt away or arise. So, but in the sound bath, there's two of us. So we're both sound therapists, and we use lots of instruments, and it's multi-layered, and we can really sort of layer the sound. So it's absolutely gorgeous, and we are having a great time offering it. And also I can see how the journey of us together is developing too, because we're beginning to use our voice. And not that I would say I'm a singer, but we have started to sing. And so that's quite interesting how that's developing as well. So yep, that's we've got one on Friday, and we have another one at the end of October, and yeah, so December as well. I do have a Reiki 1 training coming up. So in Reiki, there are some different levels. So the beginning would be Reiki 1. And that's a kind of gift really to yourself. You learn all about the history and what it is, and we practice, and I do it in a nice small group. So it's really intimate and supportive and fun too. So that's gorgeous. So that's coming up soon in October. Yeah, next month. And then yeah, I've got a Yin and Reiki yoga class where I incorporate the words, the wisdom and the teachings of a spiritual teacher, Ramdas. So through his words, I just offer that in the class. And because when people are so deeply relaxed, you can quite easily just plant a notion, a word, or a thought, and it can really touch them very deeply. So that's in November, I think, November. And then a gorgeous event that I do annually now is on the summer solstice. It's a charity event for Variety and for children's charity. And so it kind of gives all of the things that I do throughout the year into this gorgeous like celebration. So it's like candle lighting, intention, and we chant Om, 108 Oms. We do Yin, there's Reiki healing, there's sound. So it sounds like really intense, but actually it's not. It just goes so beautifully. And I think it's such a lovely thing to do at that time of year because of the solstice and the energy and the celebration of the sun, but also celebration of each other and coming together in that community way to support each other and to just celebrate the journey of humanity and of the soul and of it's gorgeous. So if I sound enthusiastic, it is because I do love it.
And that's the beauty of it. Now that you mentioned the solstice one, that's the one that I attended. That was the occasion in which I met you first. And then
Oh,
I remember the same face, but coming to me again for a different purpose. So that was it. That was the one that I attended. And now that you mentioned that it's like a yearly thing, it makes me truly feel the same excitement that you are perceiving for yourself, knowing that I could definitely come and experience it again. Because yeah, it was like, especially because it is for the solstice, it makes like a nice transition to what could be another chapter of our life, like really close to New Year's, and all the beautiful thing that we can transition, what we wish to let go, and what we wish to set our intention for. So yeah, definitely feeling it as well. So thank you for sharing about all of them in general, knowing that if you didn't have time to take any notice, you can always refer to Yin Reiki Sound website, which will be um, available to you below this episode, and book yourself in whenever you feel drawn to it, and even having a chance to meet Paula in person as well, which is the best way to channel those energy to me.
oh, it's so good to have had that chance to chat. And yeah, and if anybody wants to like get in touch just for a chat, I do like to talk, as you will know. So it doesn't, they don't even need to come to any of the events. They can just have a chat about life and about their life, and that'll be gorgeous. I love that.
Thank you, Paula, for that. And I guess just like before we conclude our conversation as well, I would like to make you talk a little bit more. And so offering you my last question, which I always keep as a secret for my guests so they don't need to prepare on time, but hopefully it won't be too overwhelming. It's a little bit like the first question in the sense that they could be either like a answer that we know that we wish to share, but also like a good opportunity for us to question ourselves. So my final question is about an offering that I would like to ask you to share with us, which it could be about three empowering messages that you wish to share with us today. That those could be also a reminder for yourself, extended, of course, with me and our listeners. And of course, no matter how small or big those empowering messages are, anything that comes to your mind.
Oh, that is such a beautiful question. Oh, sometimes words do come to me and I write them down. So, for instance, as I was going to our last sound bath, I had inspiration to write a poem on the journey. So, I had to park my car at the side of the road and write down what the inspiration that came to me. And I arrived at the class and I said, I've just written a poem. I think we need to share it. So, a really simple one, which I share quite often, is if you would say it to yourself, it would be, I am strong and powerful in my center. I am soft and gentle. I am light. I am love. Be. And so perhaps that would be what I share with everyone, because we can all say that, and we all are that, and we are all beautiful, miraculous, so capable, and all journeying together, all 8 billion of us. So would that be okay?
Absolutely, yes. I was taking my time because I was repeating them within myself as well. And that was the best part because it's the part where I often feel goosebump. I know that the invitation is for our listener to be empowered, but also to me that I'm receiving firstly to embrace those messages and feel them within myself as well. So thank you for I don't know if this was actually your poem, the one that you wrote, or it just came to you to share in this precise moment, but I found it really empowering by saying with the statement I am instead of you are. So bringing it back to me. And I hope that everybody did the same while you were sharing them.
I hope so. I hope so. That was one that I wrote a while ago.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing it with us today.
Please.
But
It's a
also,
it's a simple one because I think we have to just remember, how amazing we are as humans.
yeah, and I believe that the empowerment that we can find towards like those keywords, I am, they could definitely bring a lot of this energy back into ourselves. So really grateful that you give us the chance to try them today by following you, repeating them for us. So thank you. And thank you anyway for the whole sharing, not just like this last bit, but for the possibility of getting to know you better, be inspired by your sharing, and possibly making a difference into our life the same way that you had the possibility to do with yourself, but also through the support that you could provide for others in their journey as well. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. It's been gorgeous to speak to you. I'm so glad that our paths crossed, and of course, perfect timing. It's always a surprise when it unfolds like that. But it's been so lovely to speak to you today, Dinny. So thank you, and thank you for the great work that you do in inspiring people in all sorts of different ways with your podcast.
Thank you so much, Paula. And yeah, I wish to extend the thanks also for everybody who has listened to this episode with us to keep us company and hoping for the best of the rest of your journey. Bye.
Thank you. Blessings to you. Blessings to you all.
Grazie per averci fatto compagnia. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you wish to stay updated and connected, visit us on our social media channels and our website www.artyoga.co. Ci sentiamo presto. Ciao! See you!